For a very long time. My name is Jeff Cruere. I'm Communications Director for the Louisiana Department of Treasury. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our news conference. And this is launching something very special, a website for Louisiana K-12. We call it the School Transparency Project. This results from legislation that was signed into law in 2023 after the diligent efforts of the sponsoring legislator, Louisiana State Senator Rick Edmonds. Today, we will be sharing with all of you, people across the state, important details about this new platform and its vital role in providing transparency for Louisiana's K-12 schools. Under the leadership of Louisiana State Treasurer John Fleming, our department has provided a resource to the public that is the most comprehensive and transparent state educational website in the country. At this point, I would like to introduce several of the individuals responsible for this achievement. And let me start with Louisiana State Treasurer John Fleming.
Well, thanks, Jeff. And today is truly historic. As Jeff said, this is by far the most comprehensive transparency website of data of any state government in the all 50 states. And so we're very, very proud of that work. The act that was passed and led by Senator Edmonds requires school systems to report financial information to the Louisiana Department of Treasury, including detailed expenditure data about purchase of goods and services for instruction, instructional support, legal services, audit services, general administration costs, construction, maintenance, transportation, information, technology, professional services, technical services, land acquisition, supplies, and that's not all, many other costs as well. School systems are also required to report information to the Louisiana Department of Treasury on all contracts, including the identity of the vendor and purpose associated with each contract. After months of compiling an immense amount of financial information and close cooperation with the Louisiana State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, the leadership of the Louisiana Department of Education, as well as school officials and superintendents from throughout the state, the outcome is a website that should make all Louisiana residents proud. Sunlight is the best disinfectant to fight inefficiency and waste. The more transparency we offer to the people of Louisiana, the more efficient our state government will become, which children and better pay will end up being for teachers and better pay for them, as well as principals, and then better education for the children. Transparency is critical because all Louisianans should be confident that each school district is performing and optimized to the standards expected by residents of the state. I believe the net result of this project will be more dollars allocated for teachers and our classrooms, ultimately benefiting the children of Louisiana. Finally, let me note that none of this would have been possible without the tireless efforts of our first assistant treasurer, Rachel Kincaid. Rachel, let me acknowledge you. Let's have a round. There you are. You moved on me. And let me say parenthetically, Rachel has worked many, many hours. In fact, she's yet to go to bed from yesterday. And so she's put many, many hours in this. This is not easy. We know that there's millions of lines of data in this. It is a lot. And again, kudos go to, and really the greatest credit goes to Rachel for her fantastic job. She spearheaded this, of course, and has done so for well over a year, almost 2 years. I would also like to thank our internal auditor, Elizabeth Bourgeois, and program manager, J.T. Sukitz, who worked closely with Rachel to ensure the successful launch of the site. I would also like to thank especially State Senator Rick Edmonds. There's Rick over there. Rick was the germination of this whole thing. He's the one who got it started. He was the one who, of course, pushed this legislation. He was the author of it. And it was his vision that led to what I think is really a great happening and a first among the United States. But I want to thank him for his leadership in sponsoring this, and give him a round of applause, for heaven's sakes. So I want to thank him for his leadership, as well as the team from OpenGov, which is the third-party website vendor who's managing this, which again makes it possible for it to be user-friendly. This is no good unless the average American, the average Louisianan can get on this website and really make it work. If you got to be a nerd or something like that to be able to use it, it's just not going to be practical. So we're so happy that we have a third-party vendor who does this, and they interact with all 50 states at one level or another in transparency. And again, they tell us, they're the experts, that this is the most comprehensive transparency website in all of the 50 states. So we have a lot to be proud of there. And led by Scott Coble, who is really going to, I think, help us give you a demonstration here in a moment. But let me say one last thing before I end. When you're looking at millions of lines of data, there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some inaccurate data. Now, compliance was high. I think it was in the 93, 95% range. So there's still some schools that owe us some data, but we're almost there with those. But there are going to be mistakes, a decimal point in the wrong place. So what I would say to you, if you see something, please let us know if you think there's an inaccuracy there. We want to correct any mistake we made, or the inputs from the schools as well. So don't panic if you see something. If somebody's getting paid $1 million a year, maybe it's just a decimal point problem, okay? So let's keep that in mind. But we will continue to work and cure the data till we get it to be perfect or near perfect. So thank you so much today, and I'm very excited about the demonstration that we're going to see, and I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
I want to thank Dr. Fleming for his leadership on this issue. It has been something that we've been working on for quite a while, and of course, Rachel spearheading it for our department. But none of this would have been possible without the visionary behind it, the person that spearheaded the legislation, worked it through the legislature, got tremendous support in the legislature for this. And we want to invite him up here to make some comments. And of course, I'm talking about State Senator Rick Edmonds.
Well, good morning, everybody. If you've been around me at all, you'll know that I don't like scripts very much. So I'd like to kind of speak from the heart a little bit. Just you hope when you're elected that you are able to make a difference. You always, I think most of us desire to really make a difference. And when you're in the legislature, you end up on a journey that you never know that you're going to be on, because there's all kinds of things that you're going to be involved in, from anything from Medicaid to education to roads and highways, you name it. It's just a wide variety. How this came about is when I was in the House. I served in the House for 8 years, and we were on a little trail of trying to use transparency as what we thought was a critical issue of what we heard in our districts and what we heard statewide. And in doing that, we began to work on what you heard at that time called Louisiana Checkbook. We went to several meetings, and we saw what other states, in particular Ohio, came down, gave us a large presentation. And Dr. Fleming, we were impressed at that time that Louisiana residents deserved that kind of service for their tax dollars. And so as we passed all that legislation, and here we come to find out that the only data that was not included was that K-12 education. And so we had to start then to say, well, what are we going to do about that? Because this is this year, a $4.1 billion MFP funds with other monies. So, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do. So we went to work on that. And, they'll tell you if you ever author a really good bill, it takes you about 3 times to get it passed. Well, this one took 3 times to get it passed. It was vetoed once, and then it was stacked in a committee to where I couldn't get it out. And if it hadn't been for, look, I don't have all the colleagues up here that co-authored the bill, but there were numerous of those that were there. But I do have my seatmate with me. Tony Bacalai has been a friend, and not only that, but a co-author of just about everything I've ever done. and I with him. And I remember going back to my seat a couple of times, and as we were fighting to try to get to some of this in this particular bill, and I have the tendency to my cheeks getting a little red when I'm a little frustrated or angry. So and I was probably both. So Tony would look up and he would just say, "All right, calm down, let the blood go back down, start over, and then he'd go get me a Diet Coke and we'd be good." So that's kind of how that worked out. That's how bills get passed in the state of Louisiana. So good news for Diet Coke. So and I won't get any benefits from that as well. But there were a lot of people along the way that helped these. In fact, the amazing thing is this was a 97-1 in the House, 37-1 when it finally passed in the Senate. And also in co-authors, this was a bipartisan effort. We had Democrats and Republicans that sponsored this bill. So what you're going to see today is a little sample of what we believe is the nation's finest website in regards to education transparency. And that would have never happened without Rachel Kincaid. I don't know how many times that my phone has rang and I've almost said, "No, I'm not answering this time." It's Rachel. And she has just been, she just wouldn't let go of trying to make certain that if we were going to have something, it was going to be the best. And she's already told me that other states now are calling us to try to get the information. We're going to be the sample size for states all over the country. So Rachel, thank you for your friendship, your leadership. I'm forever indebted. And I look back on this one of these days and know if I did anything, I couldn't have done it without a leader like you. So thank you, Rachel. Join with me in encouraging her again. So I'll finish and conclude with this. I do want to thank a couple other folks. Dr. Erin Bindley has been my friend for the past 10 years. She was the Department of Education now with the Pelican Institute. Daniel, thank you all for your leadership. John Kay's in the room now with the governor's office, but also we had some struggles in the House side, and John was always there. And I know I'm missing people, and I'm sorry for that, but I see you standing there, and I appreciate what you mean to me of trying to help us get something, what we think is landmark and quality legislation as regards to our you are, but I know this. People like to know where their tax dollars go. I think everybody wants to know that. So before Doge was cool, we were trying to do transparency in the state of Louisiana. And today you're going to get a little sample of that. So once again, thank you, all of you, for being here today. Thank you, Tony, again, for working with me on all of this. And by the way, we're going to have a great time looking at a bunch of data. If you say, I don't know if you have to be nerds to do it, but it is a great quality website. You'll enjoy it. And hopefully you will share it with people, and our parents and family members, grandparents alike, will say we're thankful for what we've done as a great kickstart for transparency and education in the state of Louisiana. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we are going to be showing you this stunning achievement. And the person who has worked countless hours on this is going to lead us through the website and explain to us all the different components that all of us can be proud of, where we can be first in the nation here in Louisiana. So let me introduce our first assistant, Rachel Kincaid, to go through our website. Rachel.
So here we go, the great unveiling. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah, let's see. Hold on. Oh, here. Yeah, see. Okay. So this is on our main page. A little too close for me to see. So, so the site has a lot of different information on it. This is the overview page, and actually, I'm gonna stand over here if y'all don't mind. I just can't see. Yeah, do you mind? That'd be great. I just can't see. So one of the things the site has, there's an overview here about the history of the bill, history of the legislation. And if you, Scott, if you go to the bottom of the page, you can see at the top the different components, the expenses.
Sorry.
It's not that easy to do.
Yeah, it's harder than it
Yeah,
looks.
so you can see at the top, expenses, revenue, contracts, more. So at the bottom, when you want to start looking at some of the data, and we can start with expenses, because that's what people are always interested in. Sorry. Okay, sure. So if we start with expenses, if you could click on that. So this is an overview of expenses, and essentially what we have is the per pupil spend, how the different types of spending that goes into K through 12. But most people are interested, and this actually, it's interactive, and then you can really see what school systems are spending what, and very quickly kind of see who's spending more, and also what the average is for the state. This is data that the department really has. We just put it in a different format. But I think if you want to go to the expenses page, one of the things that a lot of people are interested in, I want to show you this tool, is the actual report. So this data that's there is provided by each respective school system. They sent us 4 different templates of data. And so if you'll go up, Scott, if we can.
When it's searching something.
Yeah. So can you show them like the, yeah, so why don't we, one of the things you can do is this database, if you wanted to know what purchases were about anything. So let's put in textbooks.
Oh, that's here.
Okay. Yeah, let's put in textbooks. And so what you can see is every penny that was spent on textbooks in the last 6 months, from July 1 to now. You can see from July 1 until, for July 1 until December 31st, you can see every penny that was spent on textbooks in the whole state. So you can sort it on that, but also you can look vendor name if you'd like. So if you are interested in a particular vendor, how often do we use this vendor versus another vendor? Any keyword, you can pull that up. So is it?
That's the vendor report here.
Yeah.
And these have a million rows in them. So
Yeah, they have millions. So it takes a second. There's about 2 million months of data in here. So it's a huge data set. There's 119 school systems. All of them provided all of their expenditures, their contracts, salary information. So there's a lot of data on this site for you to look at. Is it loading? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's good. It's loaded.
Okay. So this is the other thing. If you wanted to look at contracts, if you have an interest in contracts, the different type of contracts the state has, you can do the same thing with textbooks. You can say, I'm interested in a particular type of contract, or I'm interested in a service. I'm interested in how much money we spend on textbooks. I'm interested in what is the allocation for laptops. How many laptops have we purchased for the state? How many laptops is my school system getting? That kind of thing. So let's go to the next page.
You want to do revenues or performance?
Let's do revenues. Let's do revenues. So again, this is all information that was provided by the school system, the individual systems. So this is just information that they normally report to the department, but we've visualized it. So you can search it. You can see, okay, what does one school system spend on instruction versus another school system? What do they spend on different things? The other thing that's a great component of this tool is there is a button on here that allows you to export this file. So if you want to take the file and look at it and say you're not interested in several columns of data, but you're interested in comparing 2 or 3 different things, anything that's on that site, you can download it in an Excel spreadsheet. And so let's see what else.
Performance, maybe?
Yeah, let's go to performance.
I would also highlight this. It translates into like 150 languages. So.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
So Scott's telling me it translates into 150 languages. Anybody wants to try, another language to look at it. So this is some of the scores that the department already puts out, and I want to thank Beth and Anya for all their help in sharing that data with us. So essentially, it just graphs it for you. We've broken it down by charter versus public schools. This is the, math performance scores. But also you can take a look at those scores compared to the per pupil spend, if you're interested in which school system spends the most, and does that correlate to a higher grade? You can see that, right? You can see which school systems spend the least, and does that correlate to a lesser grade? So you can download all this information and play. If you like data, this is a great little tool if you're interested in that kind of thing. So let's see. And I think we kind of covered it all. What always gets the most traction on these kind of things are the expenditures, and there's a lot of expenditure data in there. And so it's searchable by any term. So if you are interested, there's 2 ways to do it. You can put it in the box at the top, and you can search anything. If you want to say, how much did the state spend on ice cream, or whatever it is, if there's any data in there that says ice cream, related to ice cream, whether it's the name of the ice cream company or it's in the notes, it's going to show up and it'll total it. So you'll see that. If you're looking for a particular type of contract, anything. So that's kind of a brief overview. I think I covered all of that, but I did have a couple of other comments. I'm sorry, Jeff, if you don't mind. I did want to say that I know this has been a big project for a lot of folks, including us, and I really appreciate all the patience of the K-12 community working with us and helping us to implement this bill, and certainly Beth and Anya. And I could not forget to mention Dr. Binley and all of her advice over these last several years now in trying to implement this. She's been such a tremendous resource, and certainly our team and treasuries have been just wonderful. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that. We're already gearing up for our next report. So the next report is going to be in September 30th. And so now that data from January 1st to June 30th of this year is what we're going to be collecting next time. So it's going to be a huge database that grows and grows over time. So Jeff, I think that's it. Thank y'all.
So right now, we're going to open up to any questions that any representatives of the media have for either Rachel, Dr. Fleming, or Senator Edmonds. Are there any questions? Yes, why don't you come up, Senator and Rachel? Yes, ma'am. Rachel, you want to answer? Rachel, come here.
Oh, I have to. This is only for the charter schools and the public schools and the charter schools, the 2 and 5. Yeah.
However, we would love to include private schools. That may be our next step. That may have to be voluntary, of course. Certainly, it could be legislated mandatorily if they're receiving any state funds. But we want to include every school in the state eventually. But certainly, this is a good start, charter and public schools.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is this updated every quarter? I don't know if you mentioned that already.
Yes, it will be updated every quarter. Every report, we'll reload that.
So the good thing is this is ongoing. It's not a one-time thing. So it'll be a continual resource for people to be able to gather this important information.
Did you find anything glaring?
We're going to leave that to the public and to the outside organizations. We invite people to view it. And again, this is the first look inside of our school system statewide. One thing I would like to also mention that I think is important is, remember last year, the legislature passed and the governor signed into law school choice. Again, we're one of the first states to do this. Another first, not exactly first, but one of the first that have done that. What good is school choice if you can't look and see the performance and the cost efficiency of the schools? So this is a great complement to the other bill that was passed and already begun to be implemented, and that is school choice. So it all works together. And we think that when you involve the public, when you involve the users, which are the parents and the children, into these decision-making and vetting this information, we're going to get a much higher quality of education at a much more cost-effective rate. And again, remember, one of our big problems, and it's the same problem across the country, is teacher pay. And we think that teachers can get paid more if we have a more efficient system. So these are things that are all intertwined.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for your question. I think that when we hear the word transparency, we always go to the negative. And there could be things revealed in any expense report. That's true. But I also think that our parents have the opportunity on the positive side to see how a system is spending their dollars. And I hope that what that does is brings confidence to some of those systems. And then when they ask for their millage increase or tax increases that they're doing, they're more apt to think, well, our people are really doing a great job with the dollars that they spend. Is it challenging to do that? Of course it is. But I challenge us to always look at both sides of the coin, that we look at the positive light, and we also reveal things that maybe we're not satisfied with, and both of those bring us to a better conclusion.
Yes, sir.
For you as well. A lot of conversations have been around St. George and the potential creation of a school over there. What would the potential cost of that be, and is information like that going to be available?
It would be in the public schools and charters that would be in St. George. And there is a complete protocol of what we do to establish that with East Baton Rouge Parish. It's already been done with Central and Zachary, et cetera. And so we'll be following a very successful pattern of what we do financially and expense-wise, and it'll all be reported.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does open sourcing this data put an increased workload on our school districts or more office?
You can add in. Yes, to both, but it's worth it. It is worth it to do that because, again, what we're seeking is efficiency. And so while the workload may be a little extra on us on an administrative level, what we're able, we think, downrange to save cost, where we can build efficiencies into systems, the net is going to be, again, to the benefit of the teachers, the parents, and the children, the students. Did you have something else to add?
Okay, any other questions? All right, let me thank all of these great people for their work and thank all of you for attending, and go check out the site, folks. I think you're going to find it very, very informative. And again, we should all be proud of it here in Louisiana. Thank you so much.
Let's see.